the Moog is one of our heroes in the studio. It's just got something that no soft synth can ever really give you. And there are some quite good soft synth emulations of the Moog, but this is just in a different league really. And what's great about it is that each time you use it, you don't know what kind of sound's going to come out. And it's probably the best thing for bass in electronic music. And it's one of those ones where when we got this about 5 years ago now, we wondered how we'd ever survived without it.
Where did you get it from? Did you get it eBay or auctioned or?
I think it was through a company that used Music Control or something. They used to specialise in tracking down analogue bits of kit. And it was either through them or it might have been through Loot or something like that, going back a while. But these days I would imagine eBay is probably going to be one of the best ways of getting them. There's not that many of them around.
No. So have you got any particular, tracks off the album that you use this on? Like
every single one.
Every single one?
Yeah, every single one. I mean, even like on the ones where they're kind of mainly guitar-led, we still use the Moog for loads of things, whether it's kind of just putting a guitar through the filter, because you can feed an outside source through the Moog filter, and they've just got really nice filters. We've actually been using the filters on the SH2 quite a bit as well recently. So we've usually got it patched up in the studio so that we can use an effect sent out from the desk straight into the Moog filter, straight into the SH2 filter. They just tend to be nicer than the computer filters, and they just give you just a different feel. And but the Moog is it's just got a really special sound with it.
Have you considered buying more Moog stuff?
Well, I mean, you only really need one Minimoog, and there are new Moogs. There's the Voyager, which I think it's meant to be based on the Minimoog, and it's got quite similar architecture, and like it's much more usable. You can save all the patches, but personally, I think the Minimoog's just got a better sound. It's just a little bit rougher, a little bit more unpredictable, and I don't know. I like the original ones. But Tim's been using a Voyager recently, and you reckon it was really good, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I think they're really good. I think they really lived up to expectations. Really cool.
And then another thing we use quite a lot are some of these effects pedals. And one thing we've used in a couple of dance records recently is I just grabbed this guitar. I don't know if this is all hooked up properly, so. Tim found this thing on the internet, and it's great. What's this thing called again?
It's a glitch computer.
Glitch computer, and you just put a guitar through it, and it just makes kind of fucked up sounds like that. And
so where can our readers get one of those? Is it a DIY job or?
America on the internet from Mid-Fi Electronics.
And it seems to have some kind of octavizer in it, where you put it seems to respond best to quite high guitar notes. It's a little bit out of control, so you have to like mess around with it for ages and then do lots of chopping up on the computer to get something that's usable. But again, it's like you end up with bass lines or sounds that you're not going to get programmed in the traditional way through the computer keyboard, which is another reason why we like the MPC so much, because it's just, again, getting you out of like your normal habits of the normal kind of patterns that you program.
So have you been mainly using that for bass lines or little?
Yeah, we've used it for bass lines.
The whole tune through it can sound good sometimes. It's just that moment of sonic anarchy. It's funny how much we turn to a little pedal like that. But then we also, we're sort of building up a steady collection. The Hughes and Kettler's pretty good over there for valve sound, and the Owen Space Charge distortion is quite a unique thing from Manchester. It's all valve as well. So, and then the transistor circuits in the what was it called? The Big Muff, and then Qtron, which is also very cool as well.
That's the thing, it's all about taking a normal sound and abusing it through unusual means, so like putting vocals through them, putting percussion loops through them, and seeing what comes out, and like often what comes out is something that you would never have imagined, but it just really adds something to the track. And
do you ever put the Moog through the sort of pedal board?
definitely. And in fact, I'm sure we'll probably talk about it later, but one thing which we've been really excited about recently is the Vulture. I mean, just to give you an idea, we'll put this is the Moog on its own. Let's get a normal sound out here. Moog on its own, and then with the Vulture.
Put that down on the Vulture sound, please. There you go, with the Vulture it does that. So that's on extreme setting.
So is that a recent addition, the
Vulture? Yeah. No, it is relatively recent addition. I heard loads about them. Race the Phoenix very highly, which is a really good thing if you're working mostly in the computer. And this is absolutely ridiculous. This gives you really good range of sound that you can tweak and play with. Literally, you can adjust the amount of distortion you've got, and in a quite safe distortion area, you've got the filter, it's nice and safe and dull, or you can put it right on the overdrive like that. And so yeah, you can spend a long time in a studio trying to make a noise like that. This does it at a relatively easy flip of the switch. And really nice people as well at Thermionic Culture, and I didn't say that lightly because when I reported that this was broken to them the other day, they sent someone round who came and examined the circuits, took it away and brought it back 2 days later, and I can't see their praises high enough. Slightly different than the aftercare you get from some major London high street music stores, I would say. And I said to them, it's a bit like having a Rolls Royce, and they went, well, we like to think you have got a Rolls Royce of valve compression. I think we have, it's very cool. Certainly with that service we have, and it's enough of the noise terror beast.
So without it,
but you
it's
can use
just
it,
like that.
yeah, you can use it for really subtle stuff, and you can use it for literally just warming up a vocal and giving it, you know, what you don't have in the computer. Or on the other hand, you can use it for really, you know, as they say on their website, speaker slashing distortion. And anyway, it's a lot of fun.
So that wasn't on the album though, like, because it's quite recent, or?
Yeah, I've got to be honest, that was. We can play that how you like though. I mean, you can just say it's one of our juicy bits of kit, which is probably how we'd like it reported, if you don't mind. Because obviously that's kind of the kind of territory we were aiming for with a lot of the album stuff.
Yeah.
To get that, we use other kinds of noises, but that's just really sort of that's the one. You know, we pretty much put everything through it as well. Like, I mean, I don't sound ridiculous, but like, you know, the drum beat,
vocals.
Yeah, it gives everything a certain harmonic quality, which is really lacking in a lot of computer-based sounds.
Mastering as well. Some people use it for mastering. They put the whole track through that and just give it a little bit of overdrive. It kind of makes it sound a little bit like when people used to master on tape. A really nice, warm harmonic distortion that just, in these days where so much is done digitally, it's really important to try to get just a little bit of kind of analog flavour into sounds. Otherwise they sound really sterile.
So yeah, so basically we've also got, as well as the Moog, there's the Roland End and the Jupiter, which is not to be underestimated, and the Juno, both of which are very different qualities, but you know, they used to be considered almost, well, I don't know if the Jupiter was ever quite naff, but the Juno certainly was for a period, I would say, of the sort of late 80s, early 90s, but it's sort of has a very deep and rich bass sound, and the Jupiter covers pretty much rave to trance and back again, you know, if you want any noises from that kind of ilk.
And those classic kind of Detroity kind of string sounds as well.
Yeah, that, and you can really, it's all really hands-on, and you just simply just grab the sounds and you decide how much you want of oscillator 1, 2, the balance between them, and off you go. And the same with the Moog, it's just like the 3 oscillators and that's all you've got. And I mean, personally, I find it quite dull going through lists of 500 presets that you get in soft synths, or indeed on a modern synth, because it's actually quite time wasting, and I quite enjoy going, right, I want this kind of bass, I've got an idea what it is, I'm just going to turn on one of these synths and get it relatively quickly, and we can within I would say on average between 30 seconds to a minute we've got what we want, and then we may do several passes and tweak it over the forthcoming hour or day even, but it's pretty much taken then and there and printed straight to the computer and used as audio from there on.
And so generally speaking we use the not that there's ever kind of a normal track, but we're most likely to use the Moog for bass lines and kind of high needly lines, and the Jupiter will be using for kind of string type arrangements, and also for things like white noise and kind of tension sounds and that sort of thing. And the Juno we've kind of revisited again, actually, having not used it for ages, because that's also got just an amazing bottom end on it, so we kind of use that for quite subby, round, bottom end type sounds. and it's also quite good for quite retro kind of gnarly stabby sounds as well. And then the SH2 is great for just all round ripping, nasty, kind of monophonic lead lines and stuff.
Yeah, very surprised with that. I found that in Tokyo this year. I went to this fantastic shop in the centre of Tokyo, which was just absolutely jammed. I think it's been spoken about in your magazine before, but jammed with synths, and they just basically fix them there, and they've got 1 or 2 boffins just doing their thing with the old analog. And I've never seen such an arsenal of Moogs, Moog clones, ARPs. They had about 5 or 6 different ARPs, and I've never seen more than 2 in one place at a time. You know, it's and I found I got them to servicing a Tysco 110F. Which is a very fat sort of noise to it, and they're servicing that for me, and we'll send it over when it's done. And this I bought because I could put it in my luggage and take it home with me. And yeah, it came with a little shiny silver 1970s case, which is soft padded, which I had. They're very cool, actually. Very new.
Another thing as well, actually, which is like not as fashionable, but and we don't actually use it very often, but still quite a powerhouse, is the Roland 5080. And that's the sort of thing where if there's something random you need, like a glockenspiel or something, it's going to be in there. So that occasionally comes in really useful. And it's got quite good drums as well, although we never use them. But they're kind of, you know, they're quite powerful. And then of course there's all the sounds in the computer, which again, we're not mad lovers of, but it's just so powerful.
We've got 5 years of programming in it, so we've literally got stacks and stacks of data varying from all our previous tracks to sequences, loops, and sounds, and and cool classical orchestras sampled up right the way through to samples that we probably shouldn't have revealed we sampled, but that we mangled in some way and applied to the sounds that we do.
Also with effects, Mackie recently kindly gave us the codes to all the plugin effects for the Mackie DB8, and some of them are actually pretty good. They've got things like a really nice Massenburg EQ, which is a lot more musical than anything that we found on Logic so far. And the Massenburg EQ is kind of like one of the classics, and this really does a good job emulating it. So the DB8 has actually been a really good workhorse for us because we've got 24 outs coming out of the computer into here. Because one of the problems with using Logic is that it's really good and it does everything, but it's still a computer crunching loads of tracks of audio together, and which they call summing. And one of the things about using SSL desks and things like that is that they just mix the sounds in a far nicer way, and that's why they sound so good. And obviously this isn't anything like an SSL desk, but it still does a better job of putting all the channels of audio together than the computer does. And because it's all ADAT, you can just fire sounds backwards and forwards all digitally between the two. So we use the DB8 in every track.
Is there any piece of kit you would say was absolutely critical to the album? I mean, obviously the Moog, but like, or a piece of kit or a sound that made the track? Like where you kind of
the guitars.
Having the confidence to record things, because I mean a lot of people say that, and I think they have a good point, which is that well, let's put it another way. I'm regularly impressed by tunes when I meet the producer and I say, "Go on, what Outboard are you using?" And they go, "I don't have any." And they're either lying or more likely they're not, and they are actually not. They had nothing. It's just a laptop, and they're really that good at sound that they're able to use the existing equipment in there. So if anyone looks at some of the Valve stuff here and goes, "Oh, not surprising they've got those sounds," well, I reckon you can probably get them without a lot of this stuff. But for me as a producer, it gives me the confidence to know that that sound is quality. So I've made a really filthy sound, but I've reinforced it through this, and I've used the EQ on that, and the distortion comes from this. And it's rare that you have a big problem with the production when you've got, when you know the sound is reinforced that way.
For example, if you're using, if you're distorting sounds and breaking them up a lot, they can sound like kind of really glassy and nasty, but if you warm them up through the Phoenix, somehow they just sound really listenable, and they just sort of fit in the mix a lot better.
And then in contrast, you can maybe edit this somewhere else in the piece, but in contrast to the Phoenix, that's all Valve and that's all Valve. We've got some transistor circuitry here in the APIs, which are apparently very high quality channel strip units, and basically they are actually very powerful. You've got the 3-channel EQ, you've got a compressor, and you've got a preamp for mics, and altogether it's a very solid. I mean, you probably just survive with one if you could be bothered, but I just was feeling a bit decadent, so I got 2 so we can do stereo signals and all that kind of stuff, and it's very solid. It's definitely reinvented our vocal recording on getting them much.
Do you
higher
record
standard.
vocals here?
Yeah.
We can do, yeah. I mean, it depends on the job, but we write most of the stuff that we've produced is recorded here, and occasionally, like when we've done work for other pop acts and stuff, they booked a really posh studio to go into to do it there. But we'd hire in a really expensive mic for the day and use these.
We use the
preamps.
API as a preamp, and one of the things we've got our eyes on is the Thermionic Culture Early Bird, which would probably be one of the next things we get, which is a really nice valve mic preamp.
Look out for the review next month in Future Music.
Oh yeah, great. They're meant to be really good for miking up acoustic guitars as well. So so we're thinking of getting one of those. But the API is really good. It's got a really nice. We use it as a side chain compressor quite a lot. So we'll sort of have, for example, the kick sent out on an effect sent into the API.